All right, so Chair Jessica, I'm here. Vice Chair Susie Merhart.
Yes.
And then we have Cliff Ramp.
Yep.
And Tutu Thompson.
Hi.
Regina Segal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Lacey Rathrum. Okay. Is that everyone? Sorry, Don Whitebread.
Yo.
I don't have my normal list of people here.
Oh, man.
I knew you were here.
I'm trying.
Okay, so then,
So we wanted to do a quick announcement before we get into more action items. We're joined by Assistant City Manager and Community Development Director RT Shrivastava. RT wanted to share some words with the BAC. So I'm going to let RT make a few remarks before we get.
Thank you, John, and thank you for having me here. I had asked John to give me a little bit of airtime to thank the BAC for all the great work they've done and to just let you know how very excited I am and John and the team are that we're finally going to be picking up the public art strategy again, something that's been very dear to our hearts. And I really look forward to great things from this committee. And I told John, we have had all these ideas and finally it's all coming together. And want to thank you for all your work and just wanted to say I truly appreciate my time here in Mountain View. And you know, I really miss the city, but I know I can look forward. I live a couple months from here, so I will be coming here to see all the great work you do. So I just wanted to thank you.
thank you, RT. Thank you for your support.
And if we can maybe take one other item. So you have a new committee member joining, Lacey Rathbun. She was appointed by council. Just to put you on the spot very briefly, Lacey, why don't you, one, maybe it might be helpful if all the members just kind of officially introduce themselves, and then maybe you can share with the group just a short snippet about who you are, why you're interested in serving on the VAC. So maybe we start with the chair and work around in terms of introductions, and then.
Yeah, so I am Chair Jesse Cup of the Visual Arts Committee. That's all I always introduce myself, no matter what context I'm in. I'm just kidding. And I brought some pocket copies if anyone wants to share.
And is the meeting gonna be that long?
I just thought it'd be fun. I thought it'd be nice. It's like chocolate with the spread inside. But yeah.
Tutu?
Oh, yeah, so I am Tutu Thompson. This is my second term at the VAC. I lived in Mountain View since 2000. And our background, of course.
So I'm Regina Segal. This is my first term on the VAC. I start 2020. It's the third year. COVID made a little fuzzy head here. COVID time. I've lived in Mountain View since 2000, so it's going to be my 24th year. And yeah, I have a background in study arts. Yes, you?
Misha.
Susie?
I'm Susie Merhart, Vice Chair, first term, and you know me.
Yeah.
So I need to introduce myself.
Don Whitebread, we go way back, what, 15 minutes now?
Yeah,
So
feeling
we
it.
already chatted, but
yeah.
yeah, I've been here forever.
Oh.
And,
Yeah.
welcome.
Cliff Bryant, in my second term, I've been in Mountain View for over 35 years, and I've been a painter for the last 12 years.
Yeah, wow.
All right, Lacey? All right, cough it up.
My name is Lacey. I'm super psyched to be here. I have been in Mountain View since 2020, and I am a ceramic sculpture artist, a textile artist. I'm passionate about art my whole life, and I've lived in many places throughout the world, and just super interested in like community coming together through art, through whether it's street art or public spaces. And I wanted to move out of Mountain View because it was making me super sad. And then I figured I live here, I better just jump in and do what I can and make a difference with this team. put some energy into the place you live rather than leave it because it's not happening the way, you know? So I feel like it's kind of a cultural void, and I'm hoping that we can, and I've heard some good things, that's why I'm here. For a while, I was sort of not hearing great things about what was going on, but I feel really positive and excited, and I feel like this is a transition point for Mountain View. So I'm excited to be part of the community. And I have free time now. My last son just left home, and so I can pour myself more into my passions.
Cool, thank you. All right, so then, nice to have you, and moving on to minutes approval, item 3. Minutes approval for December 13th, 2023. If anyone wants to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I move
I
to approve the
second.
minutes.
Great. Motion by John Whitebread, second by Cliff and Susie, all in favor?
Yeah.
Did you? Okay, yes, that's everyone, unanimous.
Oh.
Okay, so, item 4, oral communications from the public. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the committee on any matter not on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. State law prohibits the committee from acting on non-agenda items. Would the public like to speak? Anybody online?
There's one person.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, great. Hello, nice to see you guys all on Zoom. I'm back in Providence, Rhode Island, but wanted to just briefly check in. I know you can't respond, but wanted to bring to your attention checking in about the item I addressed the committee about in the November meeting, which was a tentative art project that I proposed to my school to get funding for, and I was wondering about the process for getting the city council aware of the project, not necessarily for any official approval, but so that if I move to the next stage of getting funding for the project from my school, I'll be able to tell them, you know, the update on if the city council is aware of this and, you know, the feasibility of the project, because I think that will have a lot to do with whether or not they ultimately decide to give me the funding. So again, no need to like respond right now, but just wanted to bring it back, bring it to your attention for the foreseeable future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Naya. And is there anybody else? Comments, questions? Okay, so then we go to, actually a quick question to John, considering the staff here from other departments, is there anything we should take out of order to?
No, I think you'll probably get through things here fairly quickly for
Okay.
the staff document.
Okay. So, item 5, upcoming agenda topics. This portion of the agenda is reserved for identification of agenda items for the future. Does anyone have one of those? Act. Future agendas. Okay. Item 6, unfinished business. 6.1, capital improvement program, public art project updates. Staff will provide updates on Rainsdorf Park Aquatic Center, Project 1838, Rainsdorf Park Maintenance and Tennis Buildings, Project 2148, Transit Center Grade Separation and Access Project, Project 2135, and Evelyn Park, Project 2160.
So we don't have any additional updates from the last meeting. Construction and plans for construction are still moving forward as they were before.
Is that for all projects?
Yeah.
Okay. In that case,
When are we gonna hear back from the weight separation? You know, is there something, because there's a city council meeting, like when?
Correct. So the city council is gonna hear the topic related to the overall project. Obviously, art is part of that project. Once we get guidance from council on the full scope of the project and what does that mean, we will be able to more clearly provide an update on what's happening with the respective art, but we need council to give staff guidance on what direction to go, what direction they want to go, based upon the scope of the project and the budget of the project. So after we should be able to provide a better update to the committee in February once council hears it, which they're set to hear this month,
Do you know when they gonna hear it?
It's on the, I believe it's January 23rd.
Next week? Next Tuesday? Thank you.
Okay, so then we got item, well, public commentary. Anybody? No. Okay, 6.2, Visual Arts Committee, to select artists for recommendation to council for 2024 display at the Center for Performing Arts Building. The VAC will discuss art submissions and the results of the future.
So Mountain View has an annual rotating art exhibit on display in the Center for Performing Arts. Staff released the 2024 call for artists on November 6th of 2023 with an application deadline of December 8th. We had 66 applications. Today, the VAC will need to select 6 artists for these 6 to be decided dates, and 2 alternates. The Visual Arts Committee members scored all the 66 applications out of 7, and this table includes the top 12 artists. Just to note a few things, so the second artist, Claudio, is located outside of the Bay Area, and there are 2 artists, Newman and Amy, who we noted there are a few dates where they had previously exhibited at the Center for Performing Arts, but it's not, there's not a rule that they can't display more than once. And just a last note on the table too, it has been updated since the memo, so it is a little bit different. We got in some additional scores after the memo was prepared. So I'm just gonna run through, we have images from each of the artists in order, in consecutive order.
I have a question.
Oh,
When we did a call for artists, did we list that we only want artists from the Bay Area? But then this crowd submitted anyway?
Yeah, and we just kept them up because they were the second highest score too. But it is in the call for artists.
Going in, he's aware of we were not calling for us in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And to just respond to the comment, go ahead, and move forward, this does happen quite frequently where the VAC will issue a call for artists. We will define what the call is, but in that call, it doesn't restrict people from submitting. You're basically saying, we want this area, but it doesn't preclude anyone from submitting.
I heard you.
So we will often get folks from out of areas submitting responses.
So I'll just quickly go through.
The second one was out of area?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there it is.
So we can go back and look at any of these again, but just for one and for repeat too. So we're selecting 6 artists and 2 alternates.
How many spots do we have
6.
available? 6.
6.
Yeah.
I think we've had 2 artists showing. Those people who rotated over from the last year. In the first chart we saw, the 2 dates were already filled.
Oh,
I thought it was like the
So the question on the floor by your chair is why there are 2 artists here. So the last call for artists that was done last year ended up selecting 8 artists with additional alternates. So in doing that, it pushed into the 2024 display season. What ended up happening, however, is after outreaching to the artists, one of the artists, as you see here, presenting in 2025, had a conflict and asked that, based upon other shows that they've lined up in 2024, to go a lot later in the season. So that's why this is showing up, but it's something that the VAC already approved in the last call for artists. Is being displayed here,
So we're just accommodating their schedules, these 2 artists.
Exactly.
So how about, I mean, we have a lot of, I think, really good artists on the list. If we have 2 artists showing at the same time, I mean, some might have smaller work, some have larger work, but it could be a possibility to have two simultaneously.
Potentially, so staff has talked with the staff from the Center for Performing Arts. Historically, the display has been on the first floor, the lower floor. CPA is interested in opening up the upper floor. That would provide more wall space to actually do that. In addition, this past year, the CPA has added additional display hours. So now Wednesday through Saturday, they're open midday, so anyone can walk into the CPA and view the art, which is a very positive thing. However, the second floor is still not accessible during that time. So one of the things, thinking through how best to solve this is, if you do combination between the floors versus one floor is one artist, the second floor, but the second floor artist would not necessarily get the same amount of exposure because only during event performances would actually people be able to.
Yeah, it's kind of like 2 issues with upstairs, right? Where one is people would be able to go up there less often, and then also I think it's just less overall wall space.
That is correct.
There's second floor than this.
I don't think I've ever been up there.
So the other thing I would just note for the VAC is this is based upon basically a 7-week display cycle. So getting not quite 2 months of time to display, which we're trying to balance staff resources that go into supporting every one of these installations. So, another way of maybe accommodating the question is, could we shorten the cycle a little bit to get maybe another artist in and provide that opportunity? Another way to.
Now, is it too late at this meeting today to make any of those changes? To say like, oh, we're gonna suddenly say that we can do a group show, or we're gonna shorten or change the duration? Like, is that kind of set in stone based on?
So the duration, I think, is negotiable. We need to talk with the CPA staff on their availability to shorten the cycles. So in that case, I would gently suggest picking maybe a couple more, but recognizing the ones at the end may not be a reality if we can't shorten the cycle. I will say the call for artists made it very clear what was available for display. So for now saying that's not available, that may be a little disingenuous to the.
I definitely wouldn't want to impose the splitting of the space on anyone, say you're now in a group show, but if we reach out and a couple of the artists say, oh, I don't have that much work, actually, I would like to share with someone that way.
That's true, 'cause there were a number of people that had nice art, like 3 of them.
Yeah, and we're like,
Not
do you have
enough.
more work, or and you're just not
Yeah.
showing us, or is that all you have? So
Yeah,
that's
no, I
potential-
struggled with that.
something we could put would have to work out with their scheduling that there's people interested.
I'm wondering if we don't want to just make it easy and take the 3 out that are somewhat problematic, and then we're done.
I would only say one of these is problematic.
Because I feel like Newman and Lee, I'm a bit surprised because they were not in the original lineup, which doesn't give us a lot of time to look them up. But from what I see, and I try to look them up real quick, they have a very distinctive style. I would say an artist that does like series and collections that are quite distinctive from each other should definitely come back and display. But both of them, and Newman is amazing, and they're really beautiful, detailed imagery, but he displayed 3 times already, right? And they're very
We need to-
distinctive. I feel like they're gonna be different scenes, but that style, and so is Lee.
We should probably
And,
make it a rule though. if
and
you-
Claudio is not local. I would say, my suggestion would be take those 3 out and then just keep the rest.
Since we didn't say in the call for artists, you cannot be a repeat artist, I don't think it's fair to exclude people on that basis. You know, that's not a policy that we have.
That it's not a Bay Area artist.
No, that is in the call, very clearly, you have to be in the Bay Area.
Yeah, that
So I
one
think
is-
that's fine.
No, I mean, not
That
that
you can't
they,
repeat, yeah.
not that they can't, but for us to make a selection,
I mean, we can do whatever we want, right?
we can say we don't want somebody to.
But we cannot say the reason.
We should all.
Yeah, no,
if
my
that's
reason would
true,
be to have a distinctive style, we're gonna
That should be something
show
that the,
people the same, similar, very similar thing
I
again.
think
That
if,
is my,
if the entire committee, you know, decides we don't want repeat artists and we make that a policy, then that's one thing. But I don't think we can just kind of
Yeah, we cannot.
decide on the
I
fly.
feel like that's why we need to discuss it, right?
It's also very recent, you know, it's like 2 years ago, 4 years ago.
Is that the, when were they, when did they show
Those are
again?
the dates. So it's
2017?
2017, 2020, and 2020.
That's too bad, I like that.
2017 is 9 years ago.
You guys really like that guy.
I know, I like
Uh,
it. It seems fairly universally likable, you know, kind of culture. No, that might be too much though.
To me, it's too much, but clearly we need.
I think 17 is
My
okay,
highlight.
but 17, 20, and 22, you know, let other people have the opportunity.
Yeah, 17's a pretty good gap.
Yeah, it's a decent gap.
Yeah, that's
5 years,
five
right?
years, 6 years, yeah.
So do we want that to be the policy? You don't show again within 5 years for the CPA?
I
7
like
years, you guys.
I don't know if you need to have a policy. I mean,
I think that we should have a policy if we're going, because we right now we have a situation
If
where.
somebody has new work, totally
Yeah,
fresh, new
I
work.
don't want the policy, I just feel like we should, from case to case, decide on that.
I agree, it's
I'm
not
just
a
worried
policy.
that could get us into trouble at some point with an artist too. If we reject them because we feel like it that particular year, then they'll say, oh,
We
you
have
should have.
limited spots and we have also really good, other good artists.
But they might say, you know, I put a lot of time into making the submission
Yeah, I know.
and let me know.
It seems like a potential liability. Someone could say, like, I was the
Well, you
highest
can-
scoring artist and
You
there's
can always
nothing
leave
in
it vague
your,
and
in your
just put,
policy.
you know, preference will be given to artists who have not displayed with us in the last 5 years.
Yeah, then that
If you
should,
do something like that,
that should be written into the call, is what I'm saying. So that we
Unless
don't
you're really, really good.
not see surprises or like make people waste their time. When-
But I mean, we have no obligation to go by order, right? We can pick whoever.
I'm okay with these repeats, personally. I think it's very unlikely that you know, majority of Mountain View residents have A, seen them, and B, will remember that they've seen that art before. They're only showing for 7 weeks at a time.
3
What are
times
the
and very
chances?
recent is a lot.
Yeah.
Most people don't walk into the CPA in a year.
I don't have a problem with what's her name, Marguerite, Magnolia Lee. I mean, that's what, 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
Mhm.
That's, she might have totally new work, you know.
You know, we scored them not knowing any of that. And look where they are. Of the 63, they're at the top. And we all viewed it,
I know,
I viewed
but
it as art.
Right, oh, yeah, it's
That was
not
my
bad,
criteria.
yeah.
That was my criteria.
How good is the artwork?
Didn't Newman
Yeah, just
even
art.
put in
So,
a couple of different entries? Or the,
I'm
yeah,
not sure if that person.
Because the names weren't right on the entries, so, but I remember thinking,
A couple of
there
people.
were a lot alike.
There were one or two duplicates, I think, but I forget if that was one.
I could be
My,
wrong.
my interest in not limiting based on have they submitted before is, like Cliff is saying, like, I want to jury the art based on the quality. And then I don't want us to be restricted in the future and have to choose an artist that's not that great because,
It should be willed
It's like,
out.
I would rather have a good repeat artist than a not so good artist, if that's the
But
choice.
we have a lot of good, that's the thing, we have
Yeah, we,
a long list of excellent
by
artists.
the time you get down to about number
Score.
5, they're really close,
So,
so,
I mean, we have a score.
Yeah, I mean, they're
That
awfully
reflects-
close, there's not that much.
yeah, so it's not
There's
like,
not much of a difference. Yeah.
assuming we are good judges,
Should we take a vote?
We could do like a quick straw poll, be like, do you want to exclude, do you feel comfortable excluding people based on if they've shown before? Raise your
I
hand.
think we should vote on, do we want that person in the list or not? Because I think that goes, I think we don't need to decide on the policy, right, at this point.
I think the artists need to know ahead of time what the criteria for this selection will be. And we have to be fair and stick to what we said in the call. And the call did not say, by the way, you'll be excluded if you've submitted anything before. If you've shown before, we're not gonna pick you.
But they're not excluded, but it's at our
We're
discretion.
excluding them. If we pass them up,
Variety or do you want-
because
You score high,
Yeah, yeah.
but we're saying you can't do it because.
your art's great,
Yeah, I
but
think
here's
this
an
needs to
unwritten
be-
rule.
it's unfortunate, but I think this, just
Sorry.
should just be a learning
That's
experience.
what I feel. And if you wanna
Used
do
to
that,
cover the next time.
if you wanna do that in the future, I think it should be a policy where
I
we
feel like
include.
if we would have
ahead of
known
time.
that this person showed 3 times already, our
We
vote
can't know,
would have
But
probably
we
been
didn't, it
different.
wasn't brought to us, it wasn't part of the selection criteria. I didn't know about it at all. It's not fair to suddenly put in a new requirement. It limits the artists.
I
So-
just
so-
feel a
so-
little bit embarrassed.
So I like their
Show
stuff.
an artist every
right,
2
so-
years, I must.
So the committee's discussion here is an important one. It just flags the importance, when we do a call for artists, this is the chance to daylight these issues of being clear with the artist community what the visual arts committee wants, and it sets guidelines for them, and it sets guidelines for you. It doesn't necessarily need to be a policy per se, but if you wish to give priority to artists that have not displayed before, we should be communicating that to the artist community. We set up the jurying to reflect art, because this was not the criteria we as staff were told to screen against. We were told to screen against other things, but not this. So we didn't bother screening out that aspect. So I think it's a good footnote, and as we go for additional call for artists, let's have this conversation about what the criteria is. I understand the preference for giving exposure to others, but we did not make any statement to that fact in the call for artists. So it's a lesson. What I'm hearing is it's a lesson learned. How do you apply it to the next one?
I just feel it's not just that, it's also that we should have known when voting, right? Because then everybody personally can adjust their vote.
Staff didn't know to inform us because we didn't ask them to. And also, if we're just relying on the individual memory of like VAC members, then that's gonna be lopsided and throw off the votes as well.
I think it also goes into what we need to know about an artist. and I'm
Well,
wondering
except
if
that we have, how many, we'd
need to
have 68
more
entries.
information.
You know, we can't ask staff to go through
Yeah,
and look for all those
I
68
agree.
people.
Could be a question on the application, have you?
I wonder if we
have
need a
you
quick
exhibited
questionnaire.
before?
Like,
And when?
are you Bay Area based? Please
Why don't
confirm.
we bring
Are
this
you,
up?
have you shown at the CPA before? What year? Just
Let's have this as a separate.
a little bit of that we should
Yeah.
have. Maybe they should self-report, right?
But
And
let's
we
have
tell
the-
them this will influence
Let's
us.
do a debrief on the process and bring this stuff up, rather, because it wasn't part of the submittal right now. So let's do a debrief afterwards and see how we can improve the process. But right now, I don't think it was part of what we were asked. However, I think it's fair to ask about being outside the.
Yeah, Chico guy's out.
That was part of it.
Yeah.
And
And I think I
unfortunately,
caught some of them and some were less
quality
obvious.
was kind of high, so I guess that's
Yeah.
That was clearly stated,
that's-
yeah.
That's a
That's
fair
legit.
fair comment.
That's why it's in red.
So you, staff asked us to like 8 artists, is that right? 6 artists and 2 alternates? How does the community feel about going for 9 instead and seeing if staff can work with the CPA to reduce times from 7 weeks to 6 weeks and squeeze in?
We had 6 openings though,
And how many do we have minus Claudia?
so we have 6 committed and then 2 was 2 alternatives. And so if we had another,
So we're down to
7.
Hewitt for sure, and then maybe down to
we take one of
Jekyll.
the alternatives or.
So what I understand the chair is recommending is direction to staff to see if all of the 7-week display times can be shortened to 6 weeks, maybe smaller, to be able to get an additional artist within that scope. So you have 7 slots to fill with 2 alternates, is what I'm understanding
Yeah.
the chair is communicating.
Hours to hang stuff over there. It is not easy. It comes, down from the ceiling and it's a mess. So it's nothing we want to do any more often than we have to.
So what I would say is staff can certainly follow up with the CPA and see if that's a doable alternative and communicate if there's a decision to take 7 plus 2. If that's ends up not working, I would suggest as collective staff, we would say then take the lowest scoring out of that 9,
Alternate and drop.
that 8, so it'd go to 8 and we'd go forward with what's proposed.
Yeah, that sounds good. And yes.
That means we go to wild, that's like,
I think we go to
That we would
Jekyll.
just-
Jekyll.
do it
So we go from the
Jekyll.
top down, skipping
Claudia
Claudia.
was out, right?
Claudia's out, 1, 2, 3,
We go to Jekyll.
Jekyll.
So 4.3 would be the lowest score.
and so we go to 9,
Yeah.
we go to.
Ah, man,
That would be
that's,
the times.
now, wait, okay.
So make someone-
So then this is an issue. Then we've got a tie for 9th or whatever it is.
Three-way tie.
Completely the same.
Three-way tie.
Yeah, so
So-
they are, they're
Yeah,
exactly
we
the
could
same.
just review the final 3 and then vote now on our favorite. Keeping in mind that this will be an alternate artist, so it is not, he may not show.
Right.
He or she may not show. So here was Jekyll.
What do you wanna do?
We will pick our favorite out of the lowest scoring alternate. Because there's a tie to break, because there's,
Which one are those?
That's Lucas, Lee, and what's the other one?
This one?
Jacob.
Yeah.
Jekyll and Lucas.
Lucas, Lee, and Jacob, the 3.
Jekyll, Lucas, and we.
you can do them again, just like kind of
See the list one more
go
time.
back and forth.
Do we have
These are prints.
information on how big
This
these are?
seems unique, I like
I like Lucas, we don't get a lot of prints in our
Yeah.
prints, yeah.
medium.
Are those bigger than 8 by 10?
How big they are, yeah.
The great thing about prints is you could just make more in different colors.
They look
true.
good in the lineup, they look like different.
Put it at 300% and hit the print button.
Maybe if they're prints, she can make them.
Also, prints might be available to the public at like a lower purchase point.
That's
you know?
nice, yeah,
And make
that's
it more
true,
accessible.
actually.
I know some of they've been selling.
Accessible, yeah, it's true.
I've never bought a painting out of there because they're usually like $1,000. get a print.
Can we have Lucas? It felt like the last year there was a lot of movement because I think Bot is actually an alternate. So maybe we keep all of them in mind, like move Lucas up to the final 9, but keep the other 2 still as a backup. But not
Committee.
We don't need them anymore.
I mean, there was so much movement and so many changes this year.
Yeah,
That
we
I don't
shouldn't
know.
need those. I think if we really end up needing alternates, then staff will be able to reach out and contact those.
Yeah.
Probably won't need alternates,
No,
I would guess. So I like Lucas, but I mean, would be okay with any of those 3.
Lucas?
I like Lucas and I,
Do we have, I mean, if we need a tiebreaker, do
Jekyll. I think for me, it's Lucas, Jekyll, and then Aiming.
do we have information on how big these things are? Okay.
Jekyll's pretty, I think that's like California landscape, kind
Jekyll
of
is pretty
Yeah.
consistently
I like that.
looking like the.
local
Yeah.
landscape.
I looked at his,
And then Lucas, I think, is very, lots of different stuff.
yeah, she
Way
has a
more
lot of
different stuff
different
than
things.
this.
No, I'm worried that those are
Not that big.
small.
Can we
But
find
she has a lot of
find
different
out?
artwork,
kinda
so
have
I
that
looked at her
little,
website.
Do we,
Unless
yeah, she
we're-
has a lot of different stuff.
Unless we're going, full Andy Warhol.
Can we find out, John?
John's searching, give him some time, yeah. Okay, very concentrated.
So what are we doing? We're selecting
Researching the
3,
format.
we're selecting 2?
No, just 1. Because these 3 are tied to be the last place.
4.3.
All with a score of 4.
Okay.
So then,
So we should choose
above
one.
that should all be in.
Hard to
So we're
find them
choosing
because
one of
they're not
these.
listed.
Yeah, we're just using one of these to be the final
Drives me
scoring.
That's your alternative.
And then everyone else,
But that.
if we just go by the score from the top down.
So we should choose one of these 3.
Yes, one of these 3 as your favorite. So Lucas or
Oh,
the
Lucas's
I
pieces.
gave her, I'm just looking at my
There is
script.
a, there's a.
they're big enough. Don, it's some of these prints are 15 inches
11 by
by
15.
15, that's,
Oh,
And one of them's 17 by
that's 11 by
13.
15.
But
No, that's
if she
one and a
has,
half by 11.
if she has many,
get
she can do a
get
gallery wall.
mess of them.
Yeah, you could get
But you
4
can't
and display them as a.
You can
as a-
Can't.
But they're prints, right?
And some of
Maybe
them,
you can put
some of them are as big as 30
Well-
inches by 22 inches. Now
I,
you're
you
getting-
know, that NASA stuff I was talking about, I went out and had bigger prints made.
Yeah.
They were, it was beyond the capability of what I could make, so I
She could
I
do
just
multiple
made
prints in different colors.
big
or-
prints, so maybe they can do that too.
I love
I
the
mean, I looked at that
accessibility.
wall and said, even, 16 by 20 ain't gonna cut
She
it.
says
Printmakers
they're
are flexible.
$50 prints.
So again, we're choosing one of these 3.
Yes, just one.
Right.
Yeah.
Just one.
Do you have a personal favorite?
Jekyll's my least.
Should we do show of hands?
Why don't we just go around and say which of these 3 you like, and then we.
All right, for your number 1 choice is Jekyll. Raise your hand. Jekyll. All right.
I'll give a half a.
All right. You gotta give one.
Choose one.
Give one. One vote, one vote.
I can't commit half,
Not the quarter.
I can't commit. Okay.
Actually, like.
First place. Okay, and then the last one.
I gave her the highest.
I noticed I gave
I'm
her.
with- I'm with
My
Jekyll, though.
rating here, yeah.
Switching your vote to Jekyll. Okay, so that means.
I'll commit to
Lucas
Jekyll.
won.
For this one.
I'm good with this too.
Go for her?
Okay,
That's
Lucas
fine,
then.
that's fine, okay.
So Lucas.
So see alphabetical does.
Black and white.
Yeah. So Lucas then. Just alphabetical.
Lino.
That's why Lucas is the last.
That's
So
two.
basically goes in everything except coffee out of Jekyll only.
Yeah, they're very good.
Yeah.
He's submitting, she's submitting photographs of.
Also, I'm really-
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
the books themselves.
I'm really into these mock campaign posters. I thought they were so creative.
What's the photographs? That's interesting.
That was fun and was
For the
different.
final vote, it'll go in order of Hunter Man. I'm not saying that correctly, I'm putting Hunter Man, Ekman, Bennett, Bowers, Hughes, Hewitt, Lukina, Wild, and Lucas.
Skip Newman?
Yeah.
In there.
And
And
we're,
Newman.
There are 9.
and we're tossing out Claudio because we want to
Yeah.
fit the
Because
call
Chico.
for artists, which is Bay Area.
So the
9.
So staff needs a recommendation.
Yes.
So the recommendation is to basically, someone's gonna, needs to say this, but the recommendation is to bring forward 7 displays with 2 alternates. And using the display, using the displayer scores excluding Claudio. Needs to be the recommendation.
All right, so I will recommend to staff that they approach CPA staff, see if we could fit in one more show by reducing the one. And choose our highest scoring artists going from the top down, excluding audio. We're choosing 7 artists, 2 alternates, 3 alternates.
Lucas and Wild.
Great, that's my motion. Second?
Sounds good.
All right, we got a second from Tutu. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Are you in favor, Lucy? Yes, unanimous. Okay, okay. Public comment? Public comment? Anybody here want to comment? Anybody on the internet want to comment?
Do we do a debrief then? Or what do you want to do?
Bring that back at the next
Item 8.
meeting as you have another agenda item.
Okay.
All right, 7.2. Oh, wait, no. Sorry, 7.1, the new business cash flow interim position and all street treatment concepts. Staff will provide an update on the proposal for street treatments on the cash flow sheet, $100 to $300. VC will discuss and provide input.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. I am Aruna Boduna, Transportation Planner. I'm also here with our consultant staff, Sophie and Ramsey from Yale Studio, and then also John, who has been helping us on this project. I've been leading the Castro Pedestrian Mall project for about 4 years now. Even before COVID hit, I was working with Gale team on the Castro Pedestrian Mall project. At the time, it was just 100 block, and COVID kind of changed the scope of the project and expanded to 3 blocks, and what we have now on Castro, as you've all seen. As many of you are aware, just like I said, the 100 to 300 blocks of Castro have been transformed into pedestrian mall by council action in October of 2022. As noted in your memo, a council ad hoc subcommittee was created to review and provide feedback for the plan for the interim pedestrian mall that will be in place for the next 3 to 5 years. The ad hoc committee directed staff to identify placemaking features for opportunities for placemaking features within the public uses of this pet mall blocks. As you have seen, there is areas that are allocated for business use, and there's other areas that are for city programming purposes. We do have social seating and gaming that we had it prior to the rainy season. Some of it is coming back slowly. And one another such aspect that the ad hoc committee reviewed was decorative street treatment options. That is a central walkway on the 3 blocks of Castro, pretty wide central walkway for people to move. And we brought in concepts to the ad hoc committee, and they directed us to go seek feedback from the VAC, the Visual Arts Committee. So that's what we are here for. Our consultant will soon present what the concepts are. We are seeking your feedback on the concepts, the 3 concepts that are presented, and also color scheme. Your memo details about the guidelines that these concepts were developed based on. So I just want to kind of put it up there. This is interim pedestrian mall improvements only. It is slated to last for the next 3 to 5 years. And with the creation of permanent pet mall after that would include a public art piece, and that would be more of a permanent conditions. But what we are presenting here is an interim pet mall improvement condition. Before I turn it over to Sophie, I do want to say a couple of words about Gail, who's our project consultant firm. Gail is an urban design and research firm with offices in US and beyond. They work in cities across the globe, focused on designing urban environments for people, place, and planet. They bring their international expertise to Mountain View. They have been working with us for the past 4 years on the Castro Pedestrian Mall project. Some of their projects include Broadway Street in New York, 3rd Street Promenade in California, in Santa Monica, very close to home for us, and Swanston Street in Melbourne, among many others. I turn it over to Sophie to carry on with the presentation.
Thank you, Aruna. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us. I'm going to share my screen. Just give me a heads up if you can see.
Good.
All right. Let's see if I can get a full screen here. There we go. Okay, so you've received the memo about the project, so I'm going to go over a little high level, and then we can Aruna's going to facilitate some questions that we have to the committee. So as Aruna said, this is a street treatment block for the 100 to 300 blocks of Castro Street. And the treatment area that we're looking at within the 3 blocks is really the center of the street. And we have a 16 feet unobstructed walkway area there that's going to be fronted on both sides by areas for outdoor dining and other types of programming, as Aruna mentioned. We're not touching the intersections with the street treatment, so we're really looking at the area within the 16 feet within each of the blocks. And then, looking to how we can basically have this aid the differentiation between the 20 feet programming zone and then this 16 feet central walkway that is going to be for pedestrians, that's going to run down the center. So we started off by discussing what the treatment criteria are based on a series of different considerations. And I will just go over these high level, and if anyone has questions, we can come back to these. But the first treatment criteria is about scale. So the amount of square feet of coverage and the complexity of the implementation. So essentially the treatment detail is part of this criteria. Then we have a criteria that we've been working with about visual impact. And it's really important for this project that it has a significant impact and that it visually connects 3 blocks and that it reinforces the functional plan, essentially delineates between the program zone and the movement zone down the center lane. In addition to this, it's important that there's ease of implementation, and essentially the criteria for this is that it can be done in-house and that the install would not take too long because it could potentially be obstruction to businesses if so. Businesses and access to businesses, of course, for the public. And then we've been looking into choice of medium. So essentially, like what type of paint or other material would we be using for this? And the choice of this really impacts also the other criteria. So material would impact cost, it would impact scale, it would impact like what type of design we can do in terms of how it can be implemented. And it would also impact, the durability and the need for maintenance within the 3 to 5 years that this is going to be in place. And in the memo, there is a list of the different mediums that we've been looking at. But based on the other criteria for application and the premise for the project, we're landing on a paint type material. And this is to be further explored following this review. And then the next item or criteria is around durability and maintenance. And this is really about, going back to like the medium type, the scale, and the complexity. How easy will it be to repair and refresh, both in terms of cost efficiency and obstruction? And again, that it's important that this can be done in-house, also for cost efficiency and time. And then the last criteria is related to cost. And again, the type of medium, of course, will impact cost, and the amount of surface cover. And then again, the durability and how often it would need to be refreshed. So based on these criteria, the application premise that the following street treatment alternatives or concepts that I'm going to present to you now are really based on the following. So in-house implementation, not less complexity or simple geometries, a paint-like material for implementation, a treatment that does not, necessitate any specific special tools or stencils, but really like working with off-the-shelf materials like paint rollers and stencils that the city already has within their palette. That it's easy to touch up and refresh, again, low complexity, not too many colors, and limited overlap between the different applications, because that adds to both complexity in terms of implementation and also in terms of refreshing it. Then we've been working with, finding the right balance of like coverage. So something around 50% coverage, leaving some areas open either for future implementation or use for public project. But really, this is to strike a balance between, getting a significant visual impact that really connects the 3 blocks, but also, doing it within, a reasonable cost and time frame for implementation. And then the treatments for now are represented in colors from the city of Mountain View. So this is part of the representation of the city that is included in these concepts. And this, of course, is something that can be adapted and expanded on. And again, will be contingent upon the final medium that is chosen, because the different paint types for street application doesn't all come in any color that you can desire. So there are some limitations to that depending on the medium that is chosen in the end. So I'm gonna just, go through these concepts. And the first one is, we're calling it ribbons. And this essentially is 3 different color ribbons that flows throughout the block, all 3 blocks, and intersects and overlaps at different points, and also goes to the side and sort of touches on the program zone, which, in the image that we're showing here, there are no dining, but the 20-foot zone that's indicated on either side of that center lane would be filled with, hopefully, people dining and playing games and sitting in public seating and so forth. And then there is one of the things that we've included in this concept is also that when we have, a breezeway or one of the connections to the sides to the parking, the ribbons will come together in a line, in one flow line, and then they split out again. And where they overlap outside of that zone, there is a 4th accent color to the 3 ribbon colors that adds a little bit of dynamism to that. So that's the first concept, and this is a coverage of approximately 55% of that 16-foot center area. The second one we're calling interlace, and this one is based on a simple geometry of rectangles using 3 different rotating colors. And again, there's obviously possibility for different colors or more colors. It would be important that this is an odd number to create the intervals for this one. Similar to the other concept, this has an ebb and flow in the amount of application, and the idea again is to have, you know, a visual differentiation when you come to those crossing areas where you have access to the breezeway or access up to the sidewalks by having a different visual impact. So in this instance, we are adding more application to those areas. So there's a higher density really of the pattern around those cross connections. The third one we call interlace small. And this again has 3 rotating colors, and similar to the last one, with opportunity to add more or different colors. It has a similar coverage of about 70% of that center area. And in this one, we have been playing with the idea sort of the opposite of having voids where we have mid-block access to the ramps and the sidewalks and the breezeways. All of these, including the last one, which we're calling the hopscotch helix, can be applied with paint rollers of different widths or with multiple strokes of 1. So it's a simple application method, and they have a rigidity and at the same time a simplicity in them that means that they can be applied quite simple without having to go out and do complex like markups before you do the actual implementation. This last one we're calling the hopscotch helix. It's working with 4 colors similar to the first one. There's a 3 primary and then an accent color. The accent color is the little darker blue square that breaks the pattern that's otherwise repeated throughout the block. Aruna?
Thank you, Sophie. Thank you for the presentation. So we're just kind of wrapping up our presentation here. Today we are here to seek BAC feedback on the concepts that we presented. You know, minor variations within the concept can still be made. Again, the color scheme is also something that we are seeking your feedback on. On January 30, we are bringing the same concepts to CTC for their feedback. They'll include BAC feedback in that memo. And the next steps would be to develop the concept, cost estimate for the concept based on again, feedback from the BAC and CTC this month. And eventually this will be brought to the council for approval at a future council date. Next slide. Next slide, Sophie. Thank you. So here, you know, for discussion purposes, here are the questions we are seeking your input on. And, you know, Gail, myself, and John Lang, we're all here to answer questions. Thank you.
This isn't one of the questions you're asking for feedback on, but I want to know if, I just want to express, I guess, that my preference would be to do this street bound water-based paving, like asphalt, because of the fact that it can be power washed. And we're a lot of events on time. It was Oktoberfest, there's art in line, there may be more events getting in. You know, we want to be able to clean that up and make it look fresh over the next few years. And I think it's very likely that the final step of the pedestrian mall downtown will be delayed because it's delayed a lot, let's face it. So something that's a little more durable and easy to wash would be.
I'm just gonna say, bravo, those are wonderful ideas. You know, I'm surprised how well that's gonna work. Except for the inevitable collisions between the kids on the blue line and the kids on the green line.
In
Crash
this
into
one,
each
you
other. Yeah, yeah,
The ribbon.
that's gonna be the bloodbath.
No bikes down there,
No,
so.
or strollers.
I think the
is what I would
first two have the most.
So this is what they recommend.
I think
This is
having
slightly more
some
expensive.
Dynamics is great. The ribbons are great because we're gonna have those boxy kind of compartments
Yeah.
around the
Okay.
restaurants.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of
Yeah,
nice
that's a
to
good
have
point.
something round.
Good point.
What I
My God.
and it's I think the more color the better. So it's nice that it has actually 4 colors. The only thing I would say is it maybe could have slightly more coverage. I like the second one that also has dynamics, but that covers more. It's kind of nice to have more color, just because it's asphalt, it's gray,
Yeah.
so it's nice to have color.
I'm sorry, just a point of clarification.
Have more-
color as in different
More
colors or
coverage.
More coverage.
More coverage and potentially more colors. I just think it's a nice, but they're all beautiful, I actually think. But the ribbons, I think, would make a nice contrast
Yeah.
with the kind of boxiness of the buildings and the fences. And it also has an interesting possibility of like those ribbons leading to something. I mean, you could kind of point to the walkways, or I don't know how they're
That's
called.
the cross, that's what
That
area
goes to the
has,
buildings kind of
Yeah,
that we
that's what
have,
it has,
like kind of guide people to certain areas that we want them guided.
Sophie, do you want to pull up the ribbons? I think that's what Sophie said is, you know, the edge
Yeah,
points
when
where
they
they
point
Yeah.
it,
branching
kind of
off
like,
Yeah.
is going.
No, they-
this is where your kids would get off. The,
No, this is where you take bribes from that restaurant.
Oh.
Guide you
so
right
I'm
in.
wondering if there could be something really kind of placemaking and kind of you know your orientation, like where do you want to go? Kind of they go like actually somewhere that you want.
I thought the breezeways were indicated by these, you know, there are some, you can see some
I thought you'd already
breezeway,
cut it
off, right, yeah.
This is the breezeway.
Right
Where
now,
they come together is.
cross traffic can
It's-
actually come through.
But different blocks have
Behave
different,
themselves. Will that be still in place? Or if you're on
At the
Villa, do you-
intersections
Yeah.
of
Yeah, this
Villa
is in
and Dana, yes, they can still go across
Okay.
on Villa and Dana, but they cannot come onto Castro.
Right, okay, so like it is now, good.
And then one other thing, although I live downtown Mountain View, I still always have a hard time to know in which block I am when I cut in downtown. Although I should know better, I'm wondering if those 3 sections could actually be somewhat different. I don't want to pinpoint in what way, but somewhat distinguishable.
In
Yeah.
different colors.
I think it might
I
be,
don't know.
if you were
Just
doing it
if they-
anyways.
this is all 3 are exactly the same, the problem persists that you don't know in which block you are.
You can even switch it. You
That
can-
is true.
But you could take your same shapes and just switch the colors, like move that yellow over one. So it's like
Yeah,
kind of like turning into this sort of spiral.
could you make
Like
one
no
color,
movable.
one color could be kind of dominant per block, so you still have all the colors, but if you were doing any of these patterns really, you could have 100 block be more yellow, and then 200
Yeah.
block be more blue.
Take that yellow and move it
300 be
over
more
where the blue is, and then take the blue.
It's like as a visual indicator of what block you're on, you're like, oh, I'm on the more greenish.
If you can remember that, you can remember that.
Yeah, but exactly, you
You
know.
can do the East-West bookstore.
No, maybe, I mean, it's both things, right? It would be continuity, that is also value. It's just a.
So I completely agree. I think that of all 3, this is much more mobile and like it's like motion because everything else is sort of sterile and stagnant. And then if you could maybe even widen, or it seems like these lines are really small relative to
That
the
would give
size
more
of the street.
coverage if they would just
Yeah.
be slightly wider.
Or even like, it doesn't have to be, you know, they kind of widen in something, but it feels to me like that's too small.
My preference personally is for one of the 2 interlace. I think the smaller interlace gives that same sense of motion because you can see the pattern getting bigger and skinnier, but
See it from up.
yeah,
not
yeah.
from-
Okay.
Well, I think that's the one you can actually see of the interlace and of the hopscotch especially. I think small interlace is the one that you can kind of see best at street level and observe, see the motion. But I mean, again, the main reason I like the interlace is because it has 70% coverage. So if there's a way to make that wavy line coverage, or
You could make them wider.
if we could bump it up to 70%,
I
then
mean, I agree with
fine with that.
Susie and Lacey that, you know, you have already the the rectangular houses, the rectangular tables, everything is like, like rectangular boxed. And to have something that's a bit organic looking.
Well, it's the Yellow Brick Road too, it sort of leads you off.
It leads you, but it's also contrast to that. I mean, here you don't see any tables, but to the, rectangular shapes that are otherwise on there.
So I'm gonna be a totally different boss.
Okay, go for it.
Hate ribbons. It reminds me of a skateboard zooming down.
Got a problem with skateboard?
Yes, this is a pedestrian area. And I don't want to encourage kids on bicycles who are riding
Or adults
there
on
now, or adults on bicycles, or motorized scooters, which are occurring now, as I said, in Elysees. But everything clear, it invites people to go down. Ribbons would invite it, skateboard. As a person who walks the downtown with my dog and my wife, I stroll, I wander, I pause, I see people, I look at people, I meet people, I stop, I talk to them. I look at people, I see a dog, I go and pet it, it growls at me, I control my dog. I linger, I don't want to go fast. I can go on the side streets if I want to go fast. I want to be able to look into the streets. I love looking at therapy. Or when West Valley was there and had this wonderful display, or way back when Books Inc., when Book Buyers was there, they had a wonderful display. I want to be invited in, look at the stores, come out, pause. I don't want to be rushed through. I also hate asphalt. Hate it, because it's a road. I'm on my feet. I want something soft to walk on. I look at Paris. Paris is committed to pedestrianizing the city.
All of our options use asphalt.
It's getting rid of cars. It's also tearing up streets and putting down a medium of greenery. You're wanting to introduce lungs into the city. What do I see on a pedestrian mall? Here in Mountain View, where we have lots of nice weather, asphalt. So I have a problem with that, and I look forward to ways where we can greenify it, putting benches so as I'm walking, I can meet friends, I can actually easily sit down and talk with them, or kids can stop and talk to them. So that's why I don't like the ribbons and what I'm looking for. Of the ones that I've seen here, the one that I liked that gets closer to what I was looking for is, I think it's 2B.
Smaller interlace.
Smaller interlace, because when you get more coverage, the asphalt disappears. It looks more like a piano piece, a keyboard. So I see, oh, hey, I can see kids playing, skipping from one color to another. It does stop, it encourages to stop and linger rather than rush through. So I'm not going to rush through Castro. I'm going to walk it, I'm going to stroll it, I'm going to
Well, that's
wander.
what it's supposed to be, right?
Are there gonna be signs saying skateboard and then whatever?
Yes,
allowed?
but the signs, but to encourage it. So is there anything to block?
If
So I don't think
you want to go skateboard,
Yeah.
you don't want to go skateboard amongst the strollers and the dog leashes anyway.
Of course
So
they are,
This
because
is not where you would choose to go.
people do.
I think-
We're kind of updated signage.
I don't think that
Have
the
to-
art will influence people one way or another in terms of will they skateboard more or less. I think that's kind of a stretch.
Ribbons are
agree with
but
you.
ribbons are an invitation.
I agree with you that I like interlace.
They are an
small
invitation
better.
to call
As-
you
as an
into
artwork.
the pedestrian area.
No, it's to
call
go
you
down
down the
fast
road.
through it
Maybe
rather than
just don't make it so
anyway,
red.
I'm giving you
Add
my
more color.
reaction.
Right.
So just, it's different. So-
Hopscotch is my
Do you
least favorite.
skateboard?
So,
Do you skateboard?
oh Lord, no.
How would you know skateboard will be?
Because I sit in Maison Alizé.
I can just tell my kids want to skateboard on
I
that.
sit in Maison Alizé and look around who's passing by.
Color.
Yeah.
I think it's a.
I think people-
So
There's way too many conversations going on.
So of these four, I like 2B.
Okay, 2B is your favorite. It's also mine for different reasons, but I think it's the best art.
To be,
Or
not.
Why not?
Well, I think hopscotch is the worst option, just throwing it out there. I'm not into hopscotch at all. I could definitely,
That's not very interesting.
so.
You could go
Maybe
bigger with
eliminate.
that, but yeah,
That is not enough.
I like the name,
More
but,
complicated.
It's,
well, we're not deciding that.
No, we're just giving.
It's not our job, so.
Yeah,
yeah,
this is
we
You want us to
recommending.
vote on
No.
one of these, or
We're
you just
just-
want giving you feedback?
We are looking for, so want feedback, so all of this is good feedback. We would like the VAC to make a recommendation on one of these, and it may be one of these, but we'd like to see wider, for the sake of argument, wider ribbons, or
Yeah.
whatever, but
More coverage, more coverage.
Why the ribbon?
we are looking for a basic recommendation on
Maybe you could
the
fill
different
in the
concepts.
color in between.
And also,
also actually what Cliff mentioned about not liking walking on pavement, or sorry, asphalt. It made me come up with a question. Of these 4 potential mediums for the application, is one of these gonna be like easier on your feet to walk on? Is there something that, I know there's
Paint's just as hard as
preformed
asphalt.
thermoplastic, that
Yeah.
sounds more gentle to me to walk on. But it's also the most expensive option, so I don't know if that is a factor at all, or if that's been considered.
sure. Yes, and Sophie, you can correct me if I'm going sideways, is the treatments can be made with a surface coating that makes it skid resistant. I think that's typically the question I get. Are any of these materials gonna be, do they make you skid when you're walking on the surface, and they can be made skid resistant with a, sand surface on top, glass surface on top, so.
So the, I guess the hardness or the softness hasn't been considered, only the safety factor, that's
Yes.
what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's all hard.
Yeah, I'm sure. One may be just a little less hard and uncomfortable, I don't know.
You know,
It's a
get a
team
quarter inch of it in
application,
there.
so
What's epoxy gravel? Is that softer or?
Doesn't sound soft.
Gravel.
So Sophie?
Not really. They're all like a surface material, right? So it will give you the same it's not more soft, either of them. Like thermoplastics is essentially the same as you have in, your zebra crossings.
Okay.
And epoxy is basically like a more a less fine grain asphalt texture, but it comes in a lot of different colors.
Okay, right, so nothing is particularly gentle on you.
No.
Perfect
no.
world, we'd have an option to put that cushiony stuff they put on the
Look at the
playgrounds.
foam. That'd be,
Yeah, that'd be
for the
all right.
permanent one, we can advocate for that, but for this,
Skateboards not too.
so,
Yeah, so I
Sounds
think
like-
that as you're saying, like the permanent redesign, obviously the base material is not decided, right? Like, so that could be something that it could be anything but asphalt for like a long-term implementation, but we're really looking to something that can be added to what's there already, also for implementation and cost efficiency, right? Since this is not a permanent project, it's about also striking a balance of cost and impact.
it sounds like what people like so far is either the ribbons or the small interlace and various recommendations for altering both to make them better, such as colors for interlace and wider, more coverage for ribbons. I'm wondering from staff, sometimes with artists, we have the discretion to say, we like this, but could you, and recommend some alterations, and is that true with this design firm?
Sure, to your point about, can the concepts be altered? Like minor alterations of the concepts. Again, this is like schematics that we developed, there is no design that was developed. So if there is feedback to make the ribbons, wider or the lines wider, yes, that can be accommodated, but also I don't wanna say that we are taking several criteria into consideration. Everything kind of leads up to the cost.
Yes.
So we want to be cognizant, before I promise anything here,
Gotcha.
that's going to be a determining factor also. Given the longevity of this improvements that's going to stay for 3 to 5 years, where do we want to invest our money?
What are we gonna do after 3 or 5 years if this is a?
So council, as council priority, also put the permanent pedestrian mall visioning and planning as priority project. We do not have an allocated budget, but yes, it's on council priority along with other downtown improvements. So again, once it's a schedule, it becomes a scheduled project with an approved budget, we are ready to start the planning and visioning of the permanent ped mall, which we are saying would take about a year or more to gather all the input from all, from the community. And after that would be the implementation of the permanent ped mall project.
And is the design tied to the transit center, or is it, say, cousin of the transit center? It's independent, but the link in.
There are some tie-in points between the two projects where the transition happens, but are the projects tied together in terms of timeline? I'm not sure I can answer that question. I know council is going to review that, information next week.
Because I remember at one point, the design of the undercrossing with now with the pedestrianization of Castro, there's some discussion on how to configure the Evelyn interface, et cetera, which was one way before. Now it can be rediscussed, et cetera, together. And that was a topic to be discussed.
Exactly. I think we'll find more about it next week on how the projects tie in and the interface of Evelyn comes.
And budgets and all that stuff. But this is for 3 to 5 years, so this is set. This is good.
Oh, yes. With the council action of permanently making this a pedestrian mall, there's no more vehicles coming back on this. So this is going to be the future, how it's going to look like a pedestrian mall. What I'll say is, yes, it still looks like a street right now. Well, when we start the pedestrian mall, permanent ped mall visioning and planning, we can it's a clean slate. We can talk about, to your point about no asphalt, bring the street back up and make it one surface, flush surface from one side to the other side. So all those are on the table at that time.
But that's a great point about try to sort of match up the style and maybe color from the transit center. Because I know our artist is still working on that, right?
What budget is going to be.
But if we just change on color, if just the choice of color try to match with the transit center, that is not a budget issue. That's just identify which color.
Transit Center is working towards more of a permanent improvements, and what we are focused today here is more on the interim things. Again, that's another reason, like choosing a different medium material would also help us. If we want to change those colors to tie in with the future project at that time, we can come back. But again, that's a lot.
When is the transit center supposed to be 5 years out or something?
I think more to come next week. Yes, we have a team working on it, and they're going to be bringing that to a council study session on Tuesday.
So there is not even like a forecasted date for the transit center too.
So we need some direction from council. We have more information about costs and the overall project, and we need council to establish direction. So right now, it is a little bit in flux. When we first came to this committee to talk about art, we were working with a certain amount of information and a timeline. That is now a little more unclear until we get direction from council on what they would ultimately like to see given the new budget estimates. So it's a hard thing to answer right now. As I mentioned earlier, we'll have a better sense coming out of the council conversation about what ultimately is going to happen. That one, helps inform the art that you guys have already discussed, but two, to the other comments about potential design aesthetics, and should some thought be given to those design aesthetics as it relates to the ped mall, but we won't know that until council provides that guidance to staff.
You can draw it.
I don't know if I should even draw this or not, if it would be too complicated. I'm just thought of another design, and might be going over the top to like, hey guys, do this design instead, but it's kind of a, yeah.
Strongly
Yes.
encourage.
Yeah.
Stay within the guardrails that are presented.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That makes perfect sense. What I was thinking was kind of a combination of interlace and ribbons, where the ribbons are weaving through the interlace. And then
Make a
maybe it's
music
not as,
scale.
maybe it's not as zoomy as you were thinking. The
Or
way
you could do
but
spheres, I mean, it's just the, you know, for me, it's like the contrast to the boxy street, you know, to have something more organic.
so we have two camps. One is saying basically downtown is already boxy enough. It's too blocky. We want wavy lines
So
going.
again, and to counter, we want to get people in the stores. We don't want them to race through it.
I don't think the thing will have any
that's-
effect on people's
that's-
actions
that's
as to going fast or slow or shopping or not shopping. I really don't think this art is going to affect their behavior in any
I
way.
didn't get that from the lines that you have to go fast.
Measurable.
Environment, what you encourage, and what are you looking at? You want people to look at the
Well, there's
store.
gonna be a wall of tables and
Well, there's
stuff
cubicles
between,
now. There's gonna be cubicles.
well, there's gonna be restaurants between this walkway.
You're talking about the patio areas, right?
They're making cubicles now. If you go down,
Yeah,
go down Castro.
Well, just the way this is laid out.
They're making
On
cubicles.
take a vote on the ribbon and then on the small interlace.
Yeah, that's a good
and
idea.
then, based on that, then talk about the coverage and.
Yes, let's do it.
And that's
That's simplifying
I
things.
think we're getting above our pay grade.
Yeah. So, who wants the ribbons to be number one?
So before. Good. So, you have public here, you had a lot of dialogue, maybe you want to hear from the public, so let's pause before any decisions are made. I like where Kirsten's encouraging, but you do have public, so let's, before you make a decision, you have all the information, so.
In person.
Open up to public comment.
Thank you. So anyway, good evening, everyone. My name is Pamela Baird. I'm actually the chair of the Downtown Committee, but I'm here as myself. I'm a 25-year resident of Mountain View. So this is just me speaking, but I would prefer that we go with the ribbons because of the comments that were made earlier about more movement. I think when we're looking at it, when you're looking at them down in the plan, no one is going to be viewing that in a plan view. So you're going to be looking at it at street level. So I think a lot of the intricacies of the cross-hatching and diamonds are going to be totally lost. It'll be fun to step on them and jump from color to color, but I don't think anyone is really going to be able to pick up in their head that there is a complicated and intricate pattern. So I think visually the ribbons would be easier for the public to see and appreciate. So anyway, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk, and I look forward to, I'm gonna go home.
Okay.
Anyway, I will turn it on when I get home and
We'll
see
just
what.
take your shirt and tell that,
That is a beautiful
That's what we need.
Can we do that?
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Anybody online? Just.
So I'm also speaking for myself, David Heine, who've lived here since 2000. I just want to encourage you to, make a walkable space. I like the idea that you had of having somehow each of the 3 blocks being just a little bit different. I tend to think that of those designs, the ribbons are a little bit better, but there's just no coverage. It says there's 55% coverage on that, and it just doesn't look anything like it. But I really encourage to get it done so that we can get a real thing done later, because right now it's just so blocky and I'm happy we've closed it off, but I'd like to get to a space where it's, strollable, green and, lively and living.
Awesome.
Great. The asphalt is temporary.
Thank you for your input. Sorry, I thought you were city staff because you're sitting at this table. So, which is, you can sit here, it's fine, but
We'll get you
I
name
just
tag.
made the wrong assumption. And now, is there any public online that wants to speak? I don't think
I
so.
think it's predominantly staff.
Okay. So, public commentary seems to lean towards those ribbons. How do we feel?
It sounds like we have a leaning toward the ribbon with a second place of the smaller version of the blocks.
Yeah.
But I think everybody's pretty universal in wanting as much coverage as we can possibly
I think
get.
if we do ribbons, it should be some.
And maybe even mix it up block to block. Is that a summary? Good.
Sure. Yeah, that's good.
Is that a recommendation?
To address the concern about being zooming too fast, could we alter the art to be a little bit more like is it a jagged beanstalk? It's more like a curvy-ish, then it stops the flow. Did I
More
describe?
curly cues.
Yeah, it has more like this kind of thing and kind of that kind of thing, which also improves the coverage.
Just
And
tighter curves, could not possibly
Wider
navigate on a
ribbons.
skateboard.
what? But artistically,
Yeah, wider, it's just not as uniform.
Professionals and scientists and stuff. We can figure those out, right?
Different widths of the waves, et cetera, to get more,
Yeah. No, I mean-
more variety.
more wavy instead of zooming.
Not all uniform.
I'm looking at Sophie if she's getting that feedback. And, again, those are more design details, so I'll take that as a feedback and we will look into
The
that.
increase, ways to increase coverage.
That's
There's different ways to do it. I think that's what you're
And I imagine
Coverage is.
this has all been done before, and there's probably ways to.
So this is what we have now, Cliff.
They have the skills to be able to do it.
Our ribbon looks like this right now. Are you suggesting a ribbon that is like kind of more thicker and then it tapers off? Exactly like that.
Oh, that's too hard.
It looks like a stomach.
But you think there should be more variation is the key I'm trying to get across. in the thing.
I'm thinking, can we get some more like, like some more like this kind of
I got that when you made that comment.
so it
Yeah.
slows down the flow.
Yeah.
No, I don't,
It's like a-
from my level, I don't think it's gonna be as tempting.
All right.
Let's leave the professional.
That's just a comment, right? It's the whole purpose of.
What we have is looks beautiful. I would just increase the coverage.
All right, here's an option for variety for wayfinding purposes. What if we were to have the ends 2 blocks, so 100 and 300 blocks would be one of these 2 designs, but the middle block would be the other. So you could have interlace and you can have ribbons.
What?
I don't know.
Let's just do that.
Green boxing.
Leads you to Chinese food, yellow leads you to
Okay.
But as before,
Okay.
I think that the ribbons have also potential for wayfinding. That we could have them end somewhere interesting. That kind of.
Yeah.
I think
That seems to be
is
in
also
the proposal, right, that they were gonna
As
go.
soon as you had a
Could be something done how they end, like those loose ends where they go. I think that has potential.
The other thing, Susie had a.
Do we need to
And
make a?
that's a little bit like what right this.
Yeah, we wanna make a recommendation.
Let's bring back, let's make a recommendation.
Yeah.
So we can,
Leave the things to the experts, yeah.
I mean, just, we can
Yeah, let's.
do this
on our own
elaborate on, but I
time,
think
yeah.
let's.
Well, I want to second what Susie had a problem with, like, she cannot recognize which block is which block. I have the exact same problem. So that is the concern if the experts could solve it for us.
But maybe it's not the design of the median, right, that will solve it.
Yeah, it might be
I
something.
think
Yeah, I think the stores are a
maybe
much more
something else
prominent
solves.
landmark.
I just want to say, maybe this can solve it, but maybe it cannot solve it.
It's just something we desire.
Yeah, something we notice.
Yeah, I cannot figure it out.
So does the committee have a
Recommendation.
Okay,
We're
is
strongly
there,
leaning to the ribbons, but want more coverage.
not
but
actually
we have a very strong concern.
I'm not 100% sure how Don and Tutu feel about the ribbons versus interlace. Quickly, just let me know.
I'm 80% ribbons.
Okay, and Tutu?
Same.
Okay, then I guess we're gonna go with ribbons. That's where the tide is going. I prefer interlace, but ribbons can work. I think we should make a recommendation for ribbons with greater coverage, just bump it up to that same 70%.
And a slower flow.
And if,
But I think that concern about the flow still stands.
maybe more variety in the ribboning. It could include thickness variation, it could include curly cues, it could include wayfinding things, so let them decide, but perhaps.
But it's increasing the coverage.
Motion to
So
We're gonna have
ribbons with the same coverage as the,
coverage.
The motion is to recommend ribbons with more coverage up to the 70%. And eventual design alterations as figured out by the consultancy agency to make them better. Better ribbons.
Say again?
Oh, I said there is also a second question. There probably some of the concerns could be alleviated. But the second question was, does the committee have feedback on the colors presented? And if,
wait, should we first finish?
Yes.
We should finish the motion.
I think we're good. I like what we said.
So should we vote on it?
There's a there's a motion. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Okay, second Don Whitebread, all in favor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tutu, you voting?
I wanna say we also wanna throw the desire to identify the blocks.
I can't put that back in the motion while we're voting. I have to make a new
But
motion.
that's,
But are we agreeing to that, so?
I think
Council.
that this temporary installation might not be the best place to put in wayfinding that is probably
So-
more permanent.
As a total aside,
Yeah.
and maybe to move this along,
Yeah.
there's a whole different discussion on wayfinding within the pedestrian mall that I think can be achieved differently as others have
Okay,
mentioned. There is other work that staff is doing. I want to put that.
Okay, so are you voting?
Yeah,
Okay, then it's unanimous with that question.
I'm sure we can
Unanimous?
talk
So,
next
Sorry.
Tuesday about colors, but I like the colors now.
Okay, sorry, 6-1, 6-1,
Yeah.
Cliff against, my apologies.
so there's a second
However,
question.
colors,
I'm pro color.
I like these colors.
So what's the?
Can we go back to the chart that shows our city colors? Sorry, Sophie, are you able to go to the chart that shows the city of Mountain View color palette? And I think personally, I'm fine with the colors that you've chosen. I think it looks fine.
I like those colors.
I guess there are some other options on the table.
I
And I can't see them on my black and white handout here.
I have it, so be pulled up. 1 second. I can share the screen for
Rem,
that.
do you want to share if you have it? Yeah.
Yes, I have that pulled up.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, wrong button.
We didn't have it in the presentation, but we can pull up the.
It's in the memo. It's high. Are you all seeing the memo?
It is.
Oh,
There we go.
Can you zoom that in a bit? There you go, perfect.
Those are the logo colors.
So the colors that you've used are the light green, the light blue, the dark blue for where overlaps happen, and
Gold.
the yellow / gold.
Yeah, that's it. That's good.
Those are the 4 colors, right?
We're done.
I thought it was darker green.
this is a
No,
subset
it's
of
the
the
third.
logo colors.
Are you using the lighter green or the green to the far left?
It has like.
I was using the farthest left green, but
It is the darker green.
Right. Okay, furthest left,
The
okay.
darkest green is
Yeah,
what.
that's fine. I'm not wild about that. Like,
Not the third one from the left?
No, it's the farthest to the left is the green they propose. What about the blue? Is it the third from the right, the lightest blue, or is it the slightly darker?
it's the,
Yeah, which colors from that?
so there's
Which
to one of them.
Highlight the one, highlight the one.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
lighter blue, darker
I
green.
think those are the great things from that.
So I would recommend doing a lighter green than the darker green.
Yeah.
Just separate.
they
Then we
chose
get
the real
three, then we
dark
have
green?
three light colors though.
Yeah, but yellow, the black. Yellow, the black.
It'll stand out more from the, it'll be higher contrast from the
From the
asphalt.
asphalt.
From a design standpoint, don't have three colors the same tone. You get much more out of the colors if they're not the same.
Because you have the
I know, but
negative space.
3 to 1, I would do 3 different tones.
Okay.
That's why I think it's
I think
really
what we
well.
have beautiful.
I do think the current color situation's fine.
They're good.
Yeah, we'd also be okay with the lighter
They're-
green, but.
I think, because you need to tend to light colors so they show up on the pavement.
Yeah.
But if you pick all 3 light ones, you're foregoing variety because it's
But
the
you
same
got black.
tone.
Black.
So that's why the
percentage
other
is so
green
small.
and the darkest color.
Black is the
make it really
absence of color.
I see.
Absolutely.
Okay, so do we want
Negative
to,
space. Negative space has shapes, but anyway, okay.
all right, I'm gonna make a recommendation. I'll make a motion that we go with the color palette as proposed. So that's
I
my
second that motion.
Second by Tutu, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, 6-1 again.
Remarkably fast.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, is the treatment, is this material definitely decided? Can the VOC give input on that if we want the more durable, power washable surface? Or is that?
Some rough.
Yeah, that's kind of
It's learn if it starts to look
Really?
sticky.
Can you take the feedback and
Some sticky. Okay. Does the VAC agree that we should have these slightly more expensive but power washable, more durable?
Yes. Which one is that one?
It's option 2 on,
Right here.
yeah, it's a street bond water-based pavement coating. This material will last longer, requires multi-step application, requires longer implementation time frame, and can be power washed and requires less maintenance, which will be great if this ends up dragging on.
I mean, from a
I think we should-
ecological standpoint, it's better.
Okay, so then
We should leave it to the people to
That's true.
have something, you know,
Well,
they have
they
to,
didn't say-
they
they
have to
didn't-
put it on.
we can just recommend it and they can say no.
Sure.
Cost is their deciding, you know,
How's
their limiting
number-
factor.
Go ahead, raise my taxes, that's fine. Spend
How's
my
number 3 compared to number 2?
Number, well,
Which
these,
one lasts longer?
these even more expensive, but I don't wanna go that far personally, but. All right, I'll make a motion, see how many people agree with me that we should recommend the street bonded water-based pavement coating that can be power washed. So that's, the motion will recommend it. Thank you, Lacey, all in favor?
Sure.
Okay.
Not my job.
Yeah, unanimous. Okay, and then, like I said.
So how many-
Have to look into this. That's just a problem.
How many was that? 6, 7?
I think
Yeah.
that was,
I should kept going.
did you not?
No,
I should kept playing. 'Cause I was
6,
curious about the third one.
The third one,
so 6,
I know
1.
it's more expensive,
yeah.
but no, it's the city expense.
Lay out the AstroTurf.
Okay. So you want that even more, I mean, I guess I can go with it if we recommend.
So,
That's true.
about 15 minutes more to go in the meeting, couple more items.
So that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you all.
Thank you all, bye.
That's a spruce up design, thank you for. And that design's not going back to us, but.
That will go to the,
Hopefully we get more coverage. That's my main concern. We do have another agenda item. I got a little lost in my. Yes, you can go to that meeting. There's a 7 something coming up. Thank you. 7.2, election process for 2024 chair and vice chair. Here we are.
Okay, so this is, all the committees annually determine their chair and vice chair, for the next upcoming year. Chair duties are to preside over all meetings of the committee, and then vice chair performs the chair's duties, when they're absent. So typically, the vice chair will move up to chair position, if they're interested in that. And then someone new will serve as vice chair. So we're recommending to, either make a nomination or self-nominate vice chair first, and then go on to the chair nomination.
Thank you. I'm fine.
So we want to make a nomination for vice
So
chair.
so we're doing vice chair.
Yeah.
Vice
yeah.
chair for.
I nominate Regina Sagles.
I second that nomination.
All in favor?
Wow. Too fast. Okay, good.
Back up in the row.
Congratulations. All right.
Do you accept?
Thank you. Okay, accept.
Okay.
Does the public have any comment on?
That was very efficient.
Shocked. Frightened.
Not giving her a chance to say no.
Okay, so it's all for the vice chair. The next would be the role of the chair. Is there a recommendation or nomination? I should say, is there a nomination?
I nominate Susie Meha.
Second.
Chair.
All in favor?
Yep, okay. Done.
I didn't know something we do for this. I don't think we've done that before in previous years.
You should always ask for public comment when the committee is making a recommendation.
Okay.
Public.
Are you okay with think they'll be good? Yes. Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Yay.
Okay. You're the chair, congratulations.
Balloon drop.
And I'd like to thank Jesse for the past.
Yes,
absolutely.
Tremendous work. Tremendous work.
Pleasure.
It's
And
great.
I think it's time for other people to do that as well. Okay, so then that means
Communication is good.
it's your turn to take on the next agenda item.
Retain.
You control the agenda now, Susie.
Well, you're in control. I am in control.
You can sit back and relax.
Do you have another agenda item?
It's just a clarification.
Oh, yes, we
on
do.
your-
7.3.
Oh, 7.3 and then 8, and Cliff wanted to say some things in 8.
7.3, right?
Oh, the mural.
Yeah.
So this is an informational update. There's a brief memo, but this is on the agenda to provide clarity and respond to a request from the last Visual Arts Committee, which is murals. And just so we're very clear, so this committee's clear, but also we're doing this for the benefit of the public. If you are painting a mural on a building in Mountain View, it does require a permit. It does require a planning permit. In general, based upon if it's just the mural only, no other work by itself, it's a very minor staff level review permit. If the mural is being put on, and I believe the rough cost is about $174 for the permit. I think that's what is written in the memo. Now, that number changes if there's one, it is a massive mural in excess of 1,000 square feet, and or there are other components that become part of the mural. Oh, I want to do building upgrade, some other aspect of it. It becomes a bigger permit and the cost goes up. But a straight mural and mural only, it does require a permit. It's done at the staff level review. So just know that a member of the public had commented that it doesn't require a permit. It does actually require a permit in Mountain View. I will conclude the remarks by just stating, I know as part of discussion on the visual arts, on the public art strategy, there's some concepts about changing policies, and this could be a potential place to change. We did not notice this topic to have that conversation. But just know you are now armed with information, so if you have a conversation about that, bring back the public art strategy for further discussion. Would be a great time to make any change, changing stuff. At this point in time.
Okay, clarifying question.
I have a question too.
You go ahead.
So what is in does the permit cover? What's asked
So the
to?
permit cannot touch any type of speech. What it is,
Doesn't cover,
speech, it does not cover speech, like you, it's not, so it's not really reviewing content of the mural. You cannot.
The city can't
speech.
deny it based
What-
on.
What the city would be looking at is it advertising in disguise of a mural? That is something, that is the process of what's really being looked at. Is it a mural, artist rendering something? Or is it a artist rendering that just happens to say Whole Foods?
Yeah.
So to declare, there should be absolutely no interjection from the permit department staff saying, oh, make this better,
No.
change the color palette.
But
They
if
don't
you
have
want
any.
to plaster,
Yes.
you know, the glorious history of the KKK on the side of your wall, you can do that?
We do not review for speech. Now, there are community standards you're getting into, but that is why a lot of times there are permit processes to vet this out, but it's really solving for, is it art or is it advertising?
Right.
Okay, thank you. And then my clarifying question was, do we charge, or have we in the past charged artists for murals that the city commissions on city property? Do we make artists pay for that permit?
My understanding of really any installation we do that triggers a building permit or a planning permit is when we commission it, we do state it's subject to potential permits, which would be a cost to the artist. Presumably, when we're commissioning art, we say this is the budget.
Mhm.
So if you're saying, I'm gonna do this art piece and the city approves it,
Yeah.
whatever that cost is built into that, but yes.
Have we been?
Review the artwork, we review the artwork before, so we make sure it's not advertising.
Yeah, that's not my concern. I just
So if
wanted to make
that's
sure that we're
only
consistent.
concern, then
But if a
that's already done.
I'm talking about city murals, the city commissions on
Yeah.
public property. Have we charged artists in the past for that permit? So like, for instance, for the one at the community center on the outside, did we charge them $174?
That did not get charged. Now, there is a sculpture that this committee approved that is looking to be electrified. That requires a building permit. You're drawing electrical power into sculpture.
Because components of that art do.
So that requires a building permit, and that is something the city will charge because we will go out and inspect that, make sure it's not.
And
But if
do
a-
structural probably as well, because
Exactly. So.
Like, for example,
We
the-
do charge we do, in most cases, charge building permit for structural, or electrical or
But
something.
we've been waiving this mural fee for city artists.
so for the rest of,
curious if
We're not charging
the rest of
Haruma.
murals, then the permit is waived.
We have not charged those fees.
Okay.
We treated them as public buildings.
But if you own a Mexican restaurant and you've got a big wall on the street and you just want to put up some great thing with Aztec pyramids and stuff, you can just get the simple permit and go to it?
Sounds like it. Yeah. All right, thanks for the clarification.
Would the permit fees go up exponentially if there's,
You said over 1,000 square feet?
if
So,
there's other,
so it will, the permit itself, if there's actually other work.
Yeah.
And I mean other work, like we want to change light
like
fixtures.
if the artists want to cover the wall first with stucco or I don't know, or tiles or,
It's,
and then paint.
it goes up over $1,000 for the permit.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
But
what I
if
wanted
it's
to
just
know.
paint.
So we're talking about paint on the wall.
Yeah.
That's hundreds.
Okay.
The simplest kinds would be about 174, but if there's more involved. Sounds good. Sounds good. Any public comment?
Actually, I have a comment about that, because I don't understand why we do prior checking instead of post enforcement, which if the purpose is simply to keep advertising off, if you put if that policy is already there and you put advertising on, somebody complains and then we go enforce and have to take it off. I mean,
Can you
but I
advertise?
don't understand where the policy came from. It sounds like we didn't used to enforce it for public things.
Yeah.
But now we have a clear policy and.
Well, so under our code, basically if you're to paint your house, you're technically supposed to get a permit. That's the way it's written. So this would apply to a mural, but if you even just paint your house, the code is very clear, it actually requires a permit.
Now I have real questions.
But that,
Right.
so.
Put the cuffs on me now, yeah?
Well,
Any other comments?
Nope. Yeah.
Cool. Moving on to 8. Committee staff comments, questions. There's one.
So one of your committee members wanted to provide an update. Now, keep in mind, this is not a discussion item. So it's not Q&A, I want to convey information. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Bryan.
So over a year ago, we were approached by a group who was concerned about the art of Chase Bank and the redevelopment, the Greystar redevelopment, and what would happen to that art. And so I attended a meeting yesterday that Greystar gave to a local neighborhood group, Ruth England group. And I wanted to share an update where they are as of yesterday. We're still in the process of working it out, and we're aiming to bring it to council hopefully by the summertime, but this is just an update. So what they looked at was what to do with the art. And if you go up the screen. Yeah. So what they looked at what to do with the art. First, they confirmed that they can preserve the art. Then the next thing that they looked at is where to put the art. They looked at public buildings like the Center for Performing Arts and the library as places to house the art. Then they looked at the art and discovered that some of it is very heavy and difficult to hang on a building that's already there, especially the large mosaics. So what they decided to propose and what they're working for is to put the art, incorporate the art into the new design of the center. And there are planning then where the arrows are to house in the new bank the art that's on the bank, current bank, and also inside the bank, one of the other pieces. Plus, there's a bird sculpture that's on the corner, and they're trying to move that and preserve it. So their goal is to incorporate pieces as is into the new design. Now, if you go to the next slides, this is now the piece that's the medallion is in existence on the bank now in this same location, at the back of the building near the parking lot. So they're planning now to keep it basically in the same location. Go to the next location. And then for the murals, they're looking to put it onto the sidewall on Castro Street. And do it in a way that it's visible to people from across the street. There's some discussion about the colors of it, et cetera, which is to be worked out. What they're also trying to do is capture the brickness of the current building. And that's why it's kind of textured. They felt that the mosaics are heavy pieces. It's in a type of mosaic, and it's not pieces, but somehow linked together into one big massive thing. They can build the building to support a mosaic. That's why they wanted to incorporate it. They also have it high up to prevent graffiti.
Oh.
So that's why they positioned it there. You go to another slide. Inside the building, there's a huge canvas. And it's huge. It's higher than normal for a double-decker restaurant. But inside the bank, they will have room enough in a corner. It's 17 feet high. So they found a place to be able to put the canvas that's there now. And then the third one, next slide. Yeah, this one. Here you may not be able to see it too well, but here is the moved bird sculpture. It now stands on a pedestal. They're trying to bring it down so you can see it a little bit better. Also, what they've done, this is one of the meeting that we heard, and also I attended the April meeting that Greystar had with the community. There are advocates to retain the shape of the current arches on the building, the Richardson arches, and so they've incorporated that here as a tribute, as a reminder.
Is this the corner where Castro and?
No, this is basically, if you go back to so this is here. So this is El Camino on the bus, and this will be basically the plaza going into their retail areas. So they retain the arches that was the advocates were hoping to retain. That's the status where they are now. They're going to the various community outreaches to get feedback, and then working through with staff and the city processes. There was some comments about potentially bringing it to us for review. That's where we're at.
And the reaction was positive, I assume?
From the small group that was attending it, yes. But it's
above and beyond.
My comment to them was I thought they had listened to the comments that I heard at the April meeting and incorporated them in well into the design. And yes, there can be squibbles about colors and stuff like that, but I think they heard feedback and incorporated one. And if you look at some of the boxy other Greystar buildings, this one has curves in it, has motion, has texture in it. Anyway, that's the update.
Is this going to be an apartment building or?
Yeah, no, it's permanent building with a huge housing development behind it.
Like a condo people can own? Condos, people can own them?
Yeah, I think so. Or it's rental. I think it's rental. Greystar usually does it. It's a huge.
Building is still a bank.
Yeah. This is a new bank. So there, if you in April they described that the current bank sits basically here. This is an open space. So what they're going to do is build this first and then demolish all this.
Okay.
Yeah, and so this will be a totally new building in a vacant spot.
Still Chase.
It is surprisingly
Still Chase, yeah.
Chase is not funding this. This is done by, they said in April, a New York-based investment company. Anyway, that's the update I wanted to share with you. So you may hear it.
Good news.
You may hear it.
Park saved.
Yay!
So there's one.
The other thing I would just add, separate topic, is I like to have a post-mortem on the from the process that we did. And have that as a discussion for next meeting if possible.
So one quick update from staff, more of a personal share, if you've not been to Sand City in Monterey County, which is right between Seaside and Monterey.
Sand?
Sand City, it's a
Sand.
small and enclave, it's right, you're basically on the ocean. They started 3 years ago a mural program, they have over 50 murals in a spot that's so small, they have basically put art in all their industrial buildings. And they have now an annual festival
Let's do a
that they are in October,
One day. Even better.
that they are recruiting international artists to come paint murals. So Sand City, I stumbled across it. I did not upload images. It's really cool, quite impressive. I will be reaching out to their city hall is very, it's a very, very small city, like. So just if you're traveling about in Monterey, I encourage you to take a look.
Sand City Festival, October.
Sand.
Amazing.
I'm paying for the ticket.
Maybe not. Is that everything? Do we adjourn?
You're the boss.
Yes.
There's no other comment?
I'm asking if anybody wants to say.
No, we're good.
Adjourned at,
8:03.
Leslie does that always.
Thank you.
And we meet next month.
Me, Henry.
Nancy?
On the calendar.
That sounds super cool.
I just saw it in my hometown too, I was looking last night.
Good meeting.
Like,
Sorry we took so long with the treatments.
Thank you.
Love a good time.